Ever wonder what really separates a good AI architect from a truly great one? Well, it's not just about knowing the tech inside and out. It's about a very specific way of thinking. Today, we're going to crack open that strategic mindset, using Microsoft's new AB100 certification as our blueprint to see how the best in the business think.
So what even is an agentic AI business solution architect? Well, forget the idea of someone just hunched over a keyboard coding all day. These folks are the visionaries. They're the leaders who figure out how to strategically weave AI into the very fabric of a company, taking a big idea from a whiteboard sketch all the way to a secure, scalable solution that actually works in the real world.
All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll nail down what this new AI architect role is all about. Then we'll dive into the core of their thinking, the foundational design patterns, why security has to come first, how they build systems that can actually evolve, and, super important, how they measure what really matters to the business. Finally, we'll tie it all together.
Okay, let's kick things off with our first section. Makes sense, right? Before we can get inside their heads to understand how they think, we've got to get a really clear picture of what they're actually responsible for day to day. Now, check this out, because this chart is really telling. Look at that massive slice of the pie. A whopping 45% is focused on deploying solutions. That tells you everything you need to know. This isn't some ivory tower theoretical job. The biggest part of their responsibility is making sure this stuff gets out the door correctly, securely, and is ready for prime time. That's where the rubber meets the road.
And yeah, this list really drives home just how broad the role is. You've got your high-level strategy, your hands-on design work, but the things that really jump out? Promoting AI adoption and creating application lifecycle strategies. This shows you it's not just a tech guru role. It's a business leader who's also a deep technical expert.
All right, Section 2, Foundational Design Patterns. This is where it gets really fun, because these are the big upfront decisions that can literally make or break an entire AI program. You get these right, you're on the path to success. You get them wrong, well, it's going to be a rough ride.
So, let's play out a classic scenario. A massive global company comes to you and says, "We're going all in on AI agents." Okay, great, but where on earth do you even begin? What's that critical first move?
On the left, you see the classic mistake, the anti-pattern. It's that temptation to be a hero and build some custom masterpiece from the ground up. It sounds cool, but it's slow, expensive, and incredibly risky. The smart play is on the right. You don't reinvent the wheel. You leverage the massive platform that's already there, like Microsoft 365 Copilot. You extend it first, and you only build custom when you find a gap you absolutely can't fill otherwise. It's just faster, cheaper, and way less risky.
Okay, on to the next design puzzle. Let's say a retail company needs an agent that can solve customer order issues. But to do that, it needs to talk to the inventory system, the shipping API, the payment gateway, a whole bunch of different places. How do you design an agent that can handle all that complexity?
Well, the common mistake is to build a monolith, one giant clunky agent that tries to do everything itself. It becomes a tangled mess that's impossible to update or debug. The far superior approach is orchestration. Think of it like a team of specialists instead of a one-person band. You have one small agent that's an expert at understanding tasks, another that's a pro at connecting to systems, and a third that's great at writing responses. It's just so much more flexible, scalable, and frankly, smarter. And now for a topic that is completely non-negotiable: security and governance. In the enterprise world, this isn't something you tack on at the end. If you treat security as an afterthought, you've already failed. It has to be the foundation for everything else you build.
Let's think about a really high-stakes scenario. You're building an AI for a big bank. The data that fuels this AI, the grounding data, is packed with sensitive customer information. It's the crown jewels. So how do you lock it down? And how do you handle things like data residency, making sure European customer data physically stays in Europe? The anti-pattern is just a complete nightmare. You dump everything into one giant global data lake and give tons of services access. The blast radius if something goes wrong is enormous. No, the correct pattern is surgical. You segment your data, you use connectors with the absolute minimum permissions they need to do their job, and you lock data stores down to specific geographic regions. It all comes back to that core security principle of least privilege.
All right, now for a big one you've definitely heard about: prompt injection. This is the classic AI security headache. How do you stop a clever user from writing a tricky prompt that hijacks your agent and gets it to do something it shouldn't? like leak private data.
The key thing to get here is that there's no single magic bullet for this. A great architect thinks in layers, like a castle's defenses. First, you build a wall around the input. You filter everything coming in. Then, you strictly limit what the agent can actually do inside the castle. You give it an allow list of approved tools. And finally, you have guards at the gate checking everything that goes out. You validate the agent's output before it takes action. Input, process, output. You need defenses at every single stage.
Okay, next up, we're talking about building systems that are designed to evolve. Because here's the deal, a great AI solution isn't like a statue that you build once and then just admire. It's more like a garden. It's a living system that needs constant and safe tending, updating, and improvement.
And this leads to a super practical, nitty-gritty challenge. You've got all these different pieces, prompts, models, code, configurations. How do you move them from a developer's laptop through a testing environment and into production without causing total chaos? How do you do it like a pro?
The answer is not copying and pasting files around. That's a recipe for disaster. The real professional answer is a unified ALM pipeline. Everything, every prompt, every model goes into version control. Automated pipelines run all your tests and security scans. You have gates that require human approval before anything moves to the next stage. And critically, you have a big red undo button, the ability to instantly roll back if something goes wrong.
Now for our final pillar before we wrap up, measuring true business value. Look, you can build the most technically elegant, beautiful AI system in the world. But if you can't prove that it's actually delivering tangible results for the business, it's really just a very expensive science project.
So the huge question is, what are the right key performance indicators? What are the numbers that are going to make the CFO and the CEO sit up and actually pay attention?
This table says it all. On the right, you have what I call vanity metrics, things like API calls per minute or GPU utilization. They sound impressive and technical, but they don't actually tell you if you're winning. On the left, that's where the gold is, meaningful KPIs. Containment rate, how many problems did the AI solve all by itself? AHT delta, how much faster are we solving customer issues? These are the numbers that translate directly to dollars and cents. This is how you prove your return on investment.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground: design patterns, security, lifecycle management, and business metrics. Now let's bring it all home and distill it down into that core architect's mindset.
This is it. This is the playbook. You extend platforms, you don't rebuild them from scratch. You orchestrate small, flexible agents, you don't build giant, rigid monoliths. Security's baked in from day one, not bolted on at the end. You automate your governance with code, you don't manage it in spreadsheets. You measure real business outcomes, not just flashy tech stats. And you always, always build for evolution, because the system will need to change and improve. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. As your own organization dives deeper into AI, take a look at your architects and technical leaders. Are they asking these kinds of strategic questions? Because having this mindset is what separates a true enterprise transformation from just another interesting tech experiment.